This is an emitter right there. And we'll just have that floating around. And emitters emit objects. So if you have a sculpt or something, then you can link it using that button, object to emit. You press X on there, press X on some object to emit, and then it kind of turns into this thing that you can move around, and it disappears while that's closed, but while it's tweaked, you can kind of preview the object in the scene. And now if I play time, it's chucking a new copy of that object to emit every 1 second by default, and then it will only go to 20. So if I actually change max emitted at once to 3 and then play it, then it will go 1, 2, 3, and it won't emit any more things. So those are the kind of default values, but if you turn on recycle emitted objects and play time, then it will emit 3, and then it will delete the oldest one and emit a new one. So it'll keep on making sure there's 3 and deleting the old ones when necessary. Another thing that this kind of max emitted at once can do, if I actually press triangle on this to stop it emitting that, then I can add some stuff onto here like that, and we'll have it just destroy itself after some time. So we'll have a timeline, we'll have a destroyer, and this destroyer could be activated by logic or whatever you like. Cool, now we'll relink it up and I'll play time. 1, 2. So it's what we really need to do, let's just change that. When something is already linked, you can actually see it by going to show hide and then turn off preview invisibility, because this object is still in the scene. All that's happened is it's turned it off automatically for you, because you mainly want to just have the emitted things be turned on and not see the original. So it turns the original off, and when it's emitted, it's turned on and spat out. But you can do that and then edit it as normal. So if we go in here and make this longer, say 2 seconds, and make this emit a bit faster, try that. So then it waits until these things actually emit it, actually destroy it. So you can make that even later, and it will emit 3 things, and then when one of these are destroyed, it will allow this to emit again, which is pretty cool. You can move it around and resize it and stuff, and it won't mess with the size of the object it actually emits. So you can make it really small, or move it around to some special place in your scene where you'll remember where it is, and then when it emits stuff, they're still the same size and in the position as normal. Let's just undo that. Okay. One tip is, instead of just having one object like that, if you group it instead, it tends to make things a lot easier later on. So for safety, I usually group it and then emit the group. So this emits as normal, but now you can add things to it. So if I made a sphere over here, then I can scope it in by, when I'm holding it, use L1 and X on the object or the group, and now it's in that group. And now I've got this extra thing in there, and then when it emits, it's got the sphere in there as well. And then I could even go in there and delete the cube, and I'll just hide that out like that. And now it's just emitting these spheres. Another thing to be aware of is, if it has any emit speed or rotation speed, then it will automatically turn on movable for it. So at the moment it's not movable, and the sculpt inside the group is not movable. But then when it spits it out, So if it doesn't have any speed or rotation, it will just leave it there and it won't be movable. But if you have any amount of emit speed, then it will be movable and roll around and stuff. Or if you have any rotation speed 0.3 or more, then it will become movable as well. So that may be confusing if you're not aware of why it's doing that. Another thing is if we just close that for a sec and put on a sculpt, just so it has, so that we can like rotate the whole thing and stuff. Let's put a rotator on it and we play time and give it some emit speed like that. So it's the actual arrow that it's using to aim the thing that it's spitting out. We'll just have it recycle now. Rotates with the gadget itself, and so does the angle that it's rotating at as well. But if we turn off local space, it will be locked to whatever it currently is. So it will still point in that direction. And if we give it emit speed, it will keep pointing in that direction as well. So there's that. Continuous mode is what we've been using the whole time. It means it tries to emit every this amount of time. So by default it's on 1 second, and we changed it to 0.5. So every 0.5 seconds it tries to emit a new one if it's allowed to by the stuff down here. But it waits for this amount of time at the start as well. So if we put that onto 1 again, so it has this gap and then it starts emitting every 1 second. So it's at the end of 1 second that it will go, and then it will wait another second and so on. Once mode is useful for effects and stuff. So if I grab a switch and plug it into there, then I can just turn it on when I want one thing. So I can turn it on and leave it on, but it's just the moment when I turn it on that it will emit another single instance. There's also object emitted lifetime in here. So if we go in here and just delete the timeline, so it's still a group. Okay, and then we play. Yeah, so it's on once mode, so we only see one of them. But after, it falls off the edge. Let's just add. So normally it's infinity, so it won't destroy stuff at all. Let's put it to 1 second. Yeah, and then after 1 second it will destroy itself. If we put this to 0.5, then it will emit one, and then when the next one is emitted, the old one will get destroyed. Let's just make that a bit different actually. And put it on continuous. Put that on an infinite. So each instance has its own kind of timer built in of 1 second, and when that's up, it destroys itself. So that's quite useful for just emitting a load of particles or whatever and having them just naturally destroy themselves without having to worry. Max emitted is the number of objects it can emit during the entire lifetime of this emitter. So if I start that, probably actually want this to not be rolling around. Right, so let's do that. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's all that it's ever going to emit now. So that's what that does. And even if it's like recycle or whatever, it doesn't care. It's only ever going to emit that many. So if I actually do that and put this on a longer timer, so we can count them being emitted: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now it's not emitting anymore, even though it could recycle one and make a new one. That's how that works. Parent speed. So if we go here, an action recorder, and just like wiggle that about like that, and turn that on, then when something is being emitted while it's got this speed that way, it's kind of added to it, just like it would be if you like threw something while running or whatever. And we'll turn that off. Yeah, so that sometimes they're faster and sometimes they're slower. If you do that, then it doesn't matter. It will just be that speed only, and not the parent speed as well. And that's on by default. I'd like to thank MDKD99, the Common People, Kolwitzer, and all of my other supporters for making this tutorial possible. If you'd like me to keep making these tutorials and helping creators across the internet, you can find out how to support me in the link in the description. Thanks for your consideration, and I'll see you in the next one.